Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and you know me and legal documents and things. Well, I've got one here that I need to share with you, and if you are a YouTube content creator, you already know about this, and if you haven't looked into it, you probably should, because there's more to it than maybe what you know at this point. And if you're a YouTube viewer that you like to watch different kinds of YouTube videos, and don't we all? Isn't that kind of why we're here? You may find that some of the videos you like the best are going to be in deep, deep doo. So here's the deal. There is a Federal Trade Commission ruling on protecting children and their data on the internet. This actually became law like back in 1999, I think. So it's been a long time ago that it actually went into effect. They had a couple of updates, and I think the last one was in 2015. Well, YouTube has not been complying with the regulation, and it has to do with if you have a site that is for children or that has some content on it that's intended for children, then you need to make sure that your site is COPPA compliant and that you are not collecting data from the children. And you have to have like parental permission and everything, and there are only certain ways you can get that parental permission, and so it's really a big deal. Okay, and it's very well spelled out. It is to protect children from online predators and from putting information out there that they shouldn't be putting out there. So I understand it, and I want children to be safe, but things are going really weird with it right now. And like I said, even if you don't have a YouTube channel, if you watch YouTube videos, this could affect you. So let's look at what this is. Here's an article. This is on their blog, the FTC blog. YouTube channel owners, is your content directed to children? Okay, plain and simply, if you have a YouTube channel that you're doing things for children, then yes, you're going to have to make sure that you are COPPA compliant. Well, here's the deal. The FTC took action against YouTube and Google because, you know, Google owns YouTube. And because of that, they had this case that they settled, and Google was fined a big amount of money because they weren't COPPA compliant. Well, this gives a little recap of what COPPA is for platforms directed to children, and that they're not supposed to be collecting any information from the kids unless they have parental consent. Okay, so FTC enforces the law through the COPPA rule. In general, COPPA requires operators of commercial websites and online services that are directed to children, more about that in a minute, to provide notice and obtain verifiable parental consent before they collect personal information from kids under 13. Okay? So then they go on and they talk about, well, how it applies to channel owners. Now, here's where I have the real problem. You see, as a channel owner, I have no way of collecting personal information about anyone. Anybody who views my videos, any information that is collected on you is collected by YouTube. It's not collected by me. And I have no regulation over that. There's no way I can say you can do this or you can't do this, YouTube, because YouTube does what it does. It collects the information. But yet I'm going to be held liable if I violate this. Okay, this is where it gets really tricky. And the problem is the fine for violating is up to $42,530. Yeah, that's what it could be. Well, there are some YouTube channels that are specifically for children. And in my opinion, I'm sitting here going, well, yeah, I understand. But the problem that we have is that YouTube has given us two choices. These are the only two choices we have. And for every video we put up now, we have to make sure that we label it either, yes, it's made for kids, or no, it's not made for kids. Those are our only choices. Well, the thing is, the COPPA rule actually gives a third choice, which is for a general audience. And many YouTube videos fit in that category. Now, I want you to think for a second. If you happen to be like me and you like to watch craft videos, are they going to say, well, some of these craft videos are kid-oriented? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that I've seen who do like little crochet amigurumi, which is like little animals and things. Well, if you do like Superman or Batman or something like that, then is that going to be kid oriented? That's where the real question comes in. And then I watch a lot of videos from homesteading channels, and they often have kids in there. Their kids are part of that. So are they going to consider those as made for kids? I don't know. Now, my videos on this particular channel, pretty much, I don't have a problem with saying, no, they're not made for kids. Although kids can watch them, I will never swear. And so that's never an issue on here. You understand that. Sometimes the subject matter is a little bit more adult, but for the most part, my videos are pretty safe. But still, I have only one of two choices. Either yes, it's made for kids, or no, it's not made for kids. This is where it really starts coming in, and I'm going to put all the links to these down below so you can read through them. And this is very interesting, some of the things that they have here. And the COPPA enforcement is where they say, yeah, a court can hold operators who violate the rule liable for civil penalties of up to $42,530 per violation. That would mean per video. So again, I want you to think about those crafting videos, because that's where it really struck me when I thought about it. Because there's so many people that do arts and crafts, and kids love those videos, but is it going to be considered a kid video? And if they don't mark it that way, then they're going to be fined possibly $42,000 per violation. That's going to ruin most people. Okay. There's no way I could afford a $42,000 fine. And I know it says up to that amount because it does take into consideration various things here. The number of children involved, the amount and type of personal information collected. But what I'm saying is, in this whole sphere of things, they're going to hold me liable. And I have no control whatsoever over what data is collected from anybody. I have nothing to do with that. I can't change it in any way. I can't say, YouTube, you're not allowed to collect this information, because they do what they do and I have no control over it. So how can I be held liable for this particular thing? And, if you go back here and you read this, essentially that's what it says. Well, COPPA applies in the same way it would if the channel owner had its own website or app. But if I have my own website or my own app, I have control over that. I have control over what data is collected. But in YouTube, I don't. I have no control whatsoever. YouTube is the one controlling it. Now, of course, there was the lawsuit, and YouTube has to pay $170 million for these violations. And here's the document. And you know what? You go through and read this document. It's 19 pages long, and it is the case. And I'll tell you what, YouTube is the defendant. Look at that. You can see it. Google LLC, YouTube LLC. They are the defendants. Do you see channel creators in there? No, you don't. How can I, as a channel creator, be held responsible for something that's totally out of my control, that I cannot do anything about? I can't stop YouTube from collecting data. They're the ones who do it. I have no control over it. So when I was reading through this, I still don't understand how these are the defendants, but we're the ones who could be sued if we don't match things up right. If you go through, I'm going to give you a couple videos in a minute, and when you go through those videos, you'll understand that what happens is the FTC is going to send out little sniffer programs, and if they happen to come across a video that you should have marked as for kids and you didn't, that's when you can be fined. It's really kind of scary. Plus, there are an awful lot of things that you lose if you mark it as for kids. You lose having your channel appear in searches. You lose having notifications for your videos. You lose people being able to like it or dislike it. You don't have any comments on it. They won't allow the comments. I mean, it's insane. And then when it comes to ad revenue, they'll have virtually no ad revenue from those videos. Now, it would be wonderful if everybody on YouTube would make videos out of the kindness of their heart and purely because they love making videos. But let's face it, folks, it takes time and energy to do videos. And if you're going to be pouring all that in there, getting the ad revenue back helps to supplement maybe another job that you could be doing instead. So I can understand how this is getting a little scary for a lot of YouTubers. And I hate to say it, but we may see a bunch of channels go down because of it. Because let's face it, if you were making a living off of YouTube and then all of a sudden this comes along and you can't do that, you may have to go find a different job. That's the pure and simple bottom line. And for maybe these crafting people, they've been very helpful to me. I love watching crafting videos. And the idea that some of my favorite crafters won't be able to make a living doing that anymore, so they're going to go find another job and I won't get any more of that content, that's really disturbing to me. Now, sure, there's Patreon, and that's a good option as well. And, you know, t-shirts, like I have the t-shirt line at Teespring. For me, I'm working hard on getting my book out, so I will have that going along, and that is where I plan on actually making my living off of that. But when it comes down to it, there are a lot of channels that aren't going to be able to make it through this, especially the smaller channels. And when you go through this, YouTube really did shoot themselves in the foot because they admitted this is like presentations that they did and it lists it in here somewhere, list these. And this is one of the exhibits A, B, and C. This is one of them. And they presented it and said, the new Saturday morning cartoons. And YouTube is unanimously voted as the favorite website of kids 2 through 12, although you're supposed to be 13 to use it. YouTube is today's leader in reaching children age 6 to 11 against top TV channels. 93% of tweens visit YouTube to watch videos. In fact, it's the #1 website regularly visited by kids. So that's how YouTube is presenting itself. And then it's violating the COPPA rule. And then I'm being held liable because YouTube is violating the COPPA rule, which I just don't get. Anyway, so there's a lot of hullabaloo going on in YouTube land. And it, like I said, if you're not a content creator, you may not be aware this is happening, but it is big. If you follow channels that have kid content on them, and even some video game channels, I mean, it could be that if you're using emojis and you're using cartoon characters, you could be hit with this. And so this is a huge thing that's happening. Now, this is a guy who is a lawyer, and he tells you pretty much a good overview of it. And according to this video, you know, he lays it down and he's not very hopeful on this one, really. But I'm going to just play this so I can show you what he says here, because these are the ways you can check it. Now, I've got the audio off because what I really want you to see is, okay, so subject matter of the online service. This is what you have to do for every video now. You think about this and decide, okay, so what is the subject matter of the online service? Then you have to think, okay, the video's visual content, what is that? And then animated characters or child activities, if we have those in there. You know, I've seen an awful lot of adult animated cartoons, so animated characters should not be the sole, reason that it's kid content. And then you go on and you have incentives, and he doesn't know what that is. I don't know what that is. What in the world? Music or audio in the video could make it kid content. Age of the models, kid celebrities. I mean, these are the kinds of things that we're supposed to think of every video we do now. Language or characteristics of online service. So if I don't swear, then is it kid friendly because I don't swear? It's just, no, I'm not going to add in any bad language just because of that. Whether ads on online service are directed to children. Now look at this one. This one gets me too because it's the same thing. I have no control over what ads YouTube puts on my channel. I don't have any control. Well, I have a little tiny bit of control because I can flag certain things. Like I can say, oh, I don't want gay and lesbian things or something like that. You know, I can control that, but I can't control specific ads or if they're directed at children. This is YouTube's jurisdiction. Again, how can I be held liable for something YouTube is in control of and I have absolutely no control over? This is what we need to remember. Okay, so this video is what YouTube's not telling you about COPPA. And then this video was kind of interesting too, because he had somebody call him up and say, look, I'm an insider in YouTube, and here's stuff that YouTube didn't tell you. It's good to watch this whole video, but basically what YouTube isn't doing is they're not giving us that option. There's only two options. There should be a middle one in here that's for general audiences, because the COPPA law does allow for that, but YouTube's not giving us that option. And, you know, when you think about a lot of these videos out there, some of them are educational and they could fit into either category. So how do you know? It's just crazy. And since I don't have kids, I don't know how much kids actually watch it. But evidently, according to that little graphic there, evidently a lot of kids watch YouTube. And especially the younger ones, 2 through 12. This is something that's going to have to be dealt with. And also, don't forget about this. I'm not even going to say it, but you understand what it was about. And yeah, so be aware of that, because that was an issue that came out in February of 2019, and it caused some big issues there. So I'm not going to put the links to those down below, but important stuff to know. And, you know, you can Google it and you will find, well, you may not find it on Google, but you can do DuckDuckGo and find it. So anyway, it's important stuff. And this whole COPPA thing, really important. I mean, here's the actual law if you want to see it. Oh, here are the things again. There are all these different things. Here it talks about, you know, how to determine and the things that he just listed on his video there as to things you're supposed to go through and think of and keep those in consideration to determine whether your video is kid-friendly or not. And so lots of things happening. And I needed to point that out to you because there are so many YouTubers that, you know, a lot of patriots are doing stuff. And I don't think it's going to affect news channels very much, but I do think it's going to affect a lot of channels. And that could have some major repercussions throughout the entire YouTube platform, because I'm not sure how they're going to survive this. I really don't know. If they don't make some arrangements and give the content creators a little bit more ability to control things, I'm just not sure how it's going to work. And so if you go through this, yeah, there's no one size fits all answer. Well, that's definitely true. But you do have to remember, there's that list again of the things that you're supposed to know. You have to remember that this stuff it needs to protect children. I mean, we need to protect our children from data mining, and I understand that. But somehow, something's got to give, because it's going to become impossible for people to make a living off of making YouTube videos. That means there will be less content, significantly less content, and that means that YouTube is going to have a really hard time. They've already been losing a lot of revenue because of what I showed you here. They have lost a lot of revenue at this point because advertisers were pulling their ads because they didn't want it to be involved in that scandal. But for now, this is the situation we're in. And, you know, for some people, we're talking thousands of videos that they have to go through. And if it's a channel that does kind of kid content and non-kid content, that's a lot of videos. It could be thousands of videos. For me, I'm getting close to number 500. So I have to check 500 videos on here. And then I'm a little worried about my Garden Devotions channel because who knows? Are they going to consider my craft things, kid friendly? I don't know. I'm a little worried. So we'll see what happens. And I think it probably eventually is going to work out, but the FTC seems to be a little more understanding, but YouTube is not, at least not as of now. But people are trying to get there and trying to make sure that they know. Now, if you go on this one, this is the one that I'll link to down below, and there's a petition here. You can click on that and you can sign the petition, and then you can check out like any other videos that he has on COPPA. There are tons of videos out there on COPPA. This guy just happens to be a lawyer, and I think he really understands what he's talking about here. So that's the thing you need to be aware of, guys. It's happening, and it's going to go into effect big time January 1st. So be aware. Things are going on, and I don't know how it's going to work out. I really don't. So yes, I am working on BitChute, but again, this is going to come out on November 30th. So that's my last day of writing. And after that, then yes, I will be freer then to be able to get that all taken care of. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.